PNC is the face of the future. We are what Guyana looks like.
Where we will recite the party's prayer, followed by the national pledge. Bless, O Lord, this our meeting, and grant that all our deliberations be pleasing in thy sight. I pledge myself to honor always the flag of Guyana, and to be loyal to my country, to be obedient to the laws of Guyana, to love my fellow citizens, and to dedicate my energies towards the happiness and prosperity of Guyana. Thank you. Please be seated. Could we remain standing as Sister Genevieve will lead us into our theme song, which is printed on the program. We are cooperative women.
We're dedicated women, loyal, true, making sure all women get their due. No more limitation nor discrimination, for with cooperation we build anew. We're cooperative women on the trail, leading by example without fear. All be active then with the Congress of Women. Against the enemy we shall prevail. We're dedicated women full of might, marching with the men folk we will fight. We're enthusiastic for and realistic for. With corporatism we must be right. We're cooperative women on the trail, leading by example without fear. All be active with the Congress of Women. Against the enemy we shall prevail. We're dedicated women all our life, making sure our women toil and strive. By their dedication to uplift the nation, for with we must strive. We're cooperative women on the trail, leading by example without fear. All be active then with the Congress of Women. Against the enemy we shall prevail. We're cooperative women on the trail, leading by example without fear. All be active then with the Congress of Women. Against the enemy we shall prevail.
Come on, put your hands together for us. Thank you very much. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, my sisters, this afternoon I am privileged and honored to introduce to you the young woman who is going to do the official welcoming. This young woman is what we can today say that we of the National Congress of Women are proud of. Women that are empowered. Women who, when they walk, people walk with them. The young lady to whom I speak of is none other than the chairperson of our great party, the People's National Congress. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together as we welcome the National Chairperson, the Honorable Volda Ann Lawrence.
Thank you all very much. Please be seated. Thank you, Madam Chair. Sisters and women of the vanguard arm of the People's National Congress Reform, good afternoon and welcome. Unless we don't have music or recording, may I also recognize the men folks in our midst. I welcome you this afternoon to celebrate our organization's 64th anniversary. Today, October 5th, 2021, under the theme, Learning from the Past, Conquering the Future. I am delighted to see all of you, including our members of parliament and our principal political secretary, here with us this afternoon. Your presence here today is certainly a living testimony of our fortitude, our faith, and our favor for this party. And so I want to take this opportunity to salute you for your steadfastness and your commitment. Women of the vanguard, we are here to celebrate 64 years of the National Congress of Women. 64 years. The women's arm of our great party, the People's National Congress Reform. And it is a well-known fact that we cannot do so without honoring the memory of a son of the soil, the venerable founder leader, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, whose leadership was exemplary. His dream was that our party could reach its pinnacle through unity of purpose and commitment in its fight against the enemy. As women, we should not be deterred, but must embrace his vision of togetherness. So, my dear comrades, let us all raise our voices above those who wish to define who we are and what our principles are. Let us raise our voices for women and with women as we promote and defend their human rights. Today, we celebrate with the teachers in our midst and teachers all across this beautiful country and around the world as they continue to mold the future leaders for us. Sisters and brothers, as I welcome you all to this 64th anniversary celebrations, I trust that we can consolidate our efforts as women of the vanguard as we continue to persevere and strengthen our party. We the women are the vanguard of the vanguard. We the women who represent the women's arm of our party, that indomitable and intrinsic part of this great party, which celebrates its 64th anniversary today. As I leave you, women of the vanguard, I must tell you that it is a great pleasure to welcome you here this afternoon. May God bless us all, and may we have a wonderful program in celebration of our anniversary. Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We're happy to see our sisters from Linden joining us. Welcome. And so I believe without further ado, I can do the roll call. And I will start with Region 4, East Bank. Region 4, East Bank. Thank you and welcome. Happy 64th. Region 4, East Coast. Happy 64th. Region 4, Georgetown. Happy 64. Region 5. Happy 64, welcome. Region 6. Woo! Happy 64, welcome. Region 10. Region 3. Put your hands together for Comrade Sampson. Thank you. The North American region. Ladies all and our awardees here this afternoon, welcome. It's truly a pleasure and an honor to welcome you.
Put your hands together. Thank you, Madam Chair. At this stage, I call on one of our senior sisters, Sister Genevieve Allen, who will read for us our anniversary statement. Sister, put your hands together for Sister Genevieve.
I salute and congratulate all of us as we celebrate the 64th anniversary of the National Congress of Women. And I read the statement thus. The National Congress of Women today celebrates its 64th anniversary on the 5th of October 2021 under the theme, Learning from the Past, Conquering the Future. This theme is apt as the women recognized their values and rose to the challenge and established the formation of the Women's Auxiliary on this date in 1957. This organization rendered valuable support to the People's National Congress as it served as its auxiliary. This was done over the period 1957 to 1976. The past has shown us that the PNC government instituted programs, changed policies, and amended laws to benefit the women of Guyana. The organization changed its name in 1976 to the Women's Revolutionary Socialist Movement. And the organization rebranded after the change in government's policy in 1994 and changed its name to the National Congress of Women. It was the National Congress of Women which led the movement for the empowerment of our women, implementing programs and provided skills training to meet the needs of our vulnerable women. Those skills are used today to buttress the economic development of our women across our 10 administrative regions. While the coalition as a government demonstrated that women are not mere symbols in society, we witnessed during their governance the significant increase in opportunities provided for women to be involved in decision-making in the Parliament, regional democratic councils, neighborhood democratic councils, state boards, and other public offices. After August the 2nd in the year 2020, Guyana has seen a degradation in our nation, and our women have felt the full brunt of the impact. Dismissal of hundreds of mothers, the non-receipt of the COVID-19 cash grant, the non-receipt of the farmers' cash grant, the impact of the pandemic, the steep increase in the cost of living and unemployment have all impacted negatively on the lives of our women, the vulnerable in society, and our families. Sisters, as we celebrate our 64th anniversary, we pledge to build on the foundations of those stalwart women who have made our existence possible. We will continue to be the vanguard of the vanguard as we learn from the past and prepare to conquer the future. Happy 64th anniversary to the National Congress of Women and to all the women across this nation of Guyana. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Sister Genevieve. Put your hands together for us. 64 years as the vanguard of the vanguard. You tell me or name a political women's organization that has stood so long, and you can only come up with the women's arm of the People's National Congress. At this stage, could I ask all of us to stand as we sing lustily the patriotic song, My Guyana El Dorado. And I'll hand over to the choir master.
My Guyana El Dorado, best of all the world to me. In my heart where'er I wander, memory enshrined thee. All my hopes and aspirations, all my longings only tie, everlasting bonds around us as the fleeting years roll by. My Guyana, time's unfolding, more and more thy destiny to redeem in lasting splendor all the years have lost to thee, and the dawning of thy glory o'er the long, long night is cast. Oh, arise, triumphant, glorious, from the ashes of the past. Oh, arise, triumphant, glorious, from the ashes of the past.
Wonderful.
Thank you. You may have your seat. Ladies and gentlemen, in the National Congress of Women, we recognize as the present leadership that we are standing on some giant shoulders of women who ran before us. Women who planted the foundation, beginning with the Women's Auxiliary Movement, and then, as you heard, changing to the National Congress of Women. And so in our organization, we've recognized 3 of those women as life members. And they are namely Doreen Duncan of Region Number 2, Yvonne Haywood-Ben of Georgetown, and Cheryl Sampson of Region Number 3. This afternoon, we have with us one of those pillars in the name and person of Mrs. Cheryl Sampson. Young, sprightly, bubbly, and filled with the blessings of God. And so we're going to hear a short history, because if we don't know where we come from, then we may not know where we're going. So we're going to ask her to set that tone. Comrade Sampson.
Thank you, Madam Chair of the National Congress of Women. Brothers and sisters, 64 years ago, and it was on a Saturday afternoon, that the People's National Congress was holding its Congress. We had just changed our name during the morning session from the Burnhamite PPP to the People's National Congress. And like now, there were more women in the party than men. And so a group of women led by Jane Phillips Gay, and she had with her people like Hyacinth Goddard, Winifred Gaskin, Lucille Cox David, Walter Julian, among others, all now gone to the great beyond. They went to found the leader. At that time, he was leader of the People's National Congress, and said to him that they want to form a women's arm. He gave them his blessings. And so on the 5th of October, 1957, the PNCWA, the People's National Congress Women's Auxiliary, was born. As I said, it was led by Jane Phillips Gay, and Jane was elected chairman, and she served in that capacity from 1957 to 1976. The first secretary of the organization was Winifred Gaskin, and then when Winifred left to go overseas on a diplomatic mission, Margaret Ackman took over. As Comrade Genevieve said, when those women came together, they behaved like an auxiliary. And it's like I'm hearing from the leaders saying to us in 1980, we have to stop being an auxiliary, and we have to be a movement to really move our great party. They went to every congress that the party had, every outreach activity. I recall Valda Julian saying to me, the party then had one Oxford car, a Morris Oxford car. And I don't think in those days the police stopped you on the road for overload, because all of them would have been locked up. They piled into the cars and they went from one place to the other. As I said, they behaved like an auxiliary. They made certain wherever the comrades went, the men were there. They cooked for them. They made certain they ate, they were comfortable, and so on. The Women's Auxiliary worked throughout a number of elections. 57, that way they were born. We had 61, 64, 68. When was the other one? 74, I think. I don't remember. But they worked along with our party. In 1975, the United Nations declared 1975 International Women's Year. And they held the first women's conference, and it was held in Mexico. Forrest Burnham, who had great faith in the women, sent a delegation to Mexico. The delegation comprised of Viola Burnham, who at that time was serving as the vice chairman of the PNCWA. Ermia Johnson, who had come through the YSM and was an ardent worker from New Amsterdam, and one Maureen Bacchus, who was coming on board at that time to be secretary in the office. And so they went to Mexico. After coming back from Mexico, they came all revitalized, energized, whatever word you want to call it. Because in Mexico, they were told by the United Nations, all countries present should go back to their countries and to their governments and say to them, you have to pay more attention to women's rights. We need equality for women, and we have to form organizations that will benefit women's work. And so they came back in 1975, and by January 1976, working along with Shirley Phil Ridley and some others, they pushed Forrest Burnham, then Prime Minister, to go to Parliament with what is now called the State Paper on Equality for Women. In that State Paper, he outlined what the government run by the People's National Congress then will do for the benefit of women. It was at around the same time that Guyana was changing its policies and adopting non-alignment, although they were promoting some of the socialist principles. And so we were close to the socialist bloc, whether it's USSR or Cuba, but we also had good relations with Britain and America, and they were turned capitalists. And because Forrest Burnham was one of those people who don't want to be told what to do and how to do it, he decided he was going to join the non-aligned movement. And you will know the non-aligned monument, which sits just outside by St. George's Cathedral. But coming back, and so in 1976, having put forward the principles in Parliament, the organization, the women's organization, was reorganized. And because we were going to follow some of the socialist principles, it was felt that both the women and the youth will change their names and to identify themselves as socialists. And so the PNCWA became Women's Revolutionary Socialist Movement in 1976. That's when the PNCYO, the youth arm, became the Young Socialist Movement. Carol is one of those little cadres. So we changed the name to WRSM, and we also changed leadership. After 19 years of being led by Jane Phillips Gay, she passed the baton to Viola Burnham, who became the national chairman. And she had with her Armia Johnson as her national secretary. And we had people like Yvonne Haywood-Ben and Verna Welchman, Jean Maitland-Singh, and so many others serving on the executive. It was during that period, being in government and having a leader who was interested in women's affairs and would push the women and give them the support, that the organization took off. The WRSM then adopted the policies of the government: feed, clothe, and house the nation. We had teams for our conventions like Produce or Perish. And so we went to the farmlands to plant when things were rough around 1974 and a little after that. And we had to put measures in place, and we stopped importing things like split peas. We planted minica, we planted our black eye, whatever it is. We also promoted buy local. And many of you will remember the WRSM then, and just sitting where we are here was an old train carriage. And this is where the WRSM tie-dye department started. I mean, many of those people would have moved on, but what's her name? Here. Anne Green and her sister worked here with Tessa Moore and the others as they promoted tie-dye. And so we had a lot of fashion shows and this sort of thing. It was during that time too that we looked to support the hospitals, because we were able to obtain a bandage making machine. How many of you remember when we were planting cotton in Kimbia? Right? And so we used the cotton to make materials here at our Senator Textile Mill, and they made the bandage material. And we used our material to finish it off. And we did the sterilizing. And so we were able to supply the hospitals with bandage. We had something called, we used newspaper, old cardboard and whatever to do pulping. We had a consultant come down from India to teach us how to do it. And might I say, as a result of what we started to do paper making, recycled paper, today there is that entity that does cardboard boxes that is run by DDL, SAPIT. We were the ones who, when we didn't bring in prunes and raisins and currants, we went to our farms. We were promoting the government's work, and we used five-finger, gooseberry, the five fingers are carambola, the bilimbi, that's the soury, and all of those things to make fruits. We used it to do with what we used to call a solar dryer. that was developed by IAST at the University of Guyana. And so when you put your things out there, you can leave it overnight because you don't have to pick it up because it's in this solar compartment. The sun and the heat from the sun works through the night until the sun comes up next morning. Preserved shrimp. When Forrest Burnham said, we got shrimps in our rivers, why do we import it? We started doing it and promoting it. And so the WRSM during that period between 1976 and let us say 1985 had done so much to promote government's work. You heard our chairman talk about the vanguard of the vanguard. The party was at that time referred to as the Vanguard Party. And I recall in 1980 when we had a convention, when we opened up our supermarket that was on the same spot here. Forbes Burnham then referred to us as the vanguard of the vanguard, the women leading the party. And so that name resonated with us, the vanguard of the vanguard. And so all our products, all the things that we did, we used the vanguard as our brand. And so we had Vanco Enterprises, which was a shop that sold our tie-dye and sold any other thing that we did. We had Van Gear Garment Factory at Melanie Damishana, and we extended into Buxton, and they prepared uniforms for our children. You remember the days when they had changed that all primary schools would wear one color, the secondary schools would wear one color, the nursery schools would wear one color. Van Gear Garment Factory did those. When we were not having rice, wheat and flour because of the foreign currency, when we used to produce rice flour, it was the WRSM that promoted rice flour. And so we had the bakery in the East Rhinebeck market called Rice Van. And they used the rice flour mixed with cassava flour. That was the first time I realized that breadfruit could make a beautiful pastry to do patties. So we had Rice Van doing that. As I said, the paper pulp, we refer to that as, that one has slipped me right now. But everybody had a van in it. The bandage, whether it was a bandage or whatever. During that period also, the WRSM pushed for the change of the laws in the government, in the Constitution, to benefit women. Coming out of the 1976 State Paper, one of the things that Forrest Burnham promised was a revision of the Constitution. And we had a new Constitution in 1980. I recall when the 1980 Constitution was done, Article 29 refers to the equality of women, all because we pushed for it. And it was as a result of that Article 29 talking about equality that Burnham set up a committee headed by Desiree Bernard. I refer to it as the Desiree Bernard Committee. And their job was to go through all the laws of Guyana. And anything that pertained to women had to be rewritten in such a way that our women will benefit. Remember, we came from the colonial times, when there was a time when you say women were seen and not heard. We wanted vocal women then. And so, between 1976 and 1994, the WRSM did so many things. During that period, Viola Burnham served for 14 years and decided it was time for her to retire from politics. When she gave up as chairman of the organization, Yvonne Hayward-Ben took over. Yvonne served for one term, and then Ermia Johnson took over as chairman. While Vi and was chairman of the WRS and Yvonne here with Ben. Our secretaries were Ermia Johnson, Dolly Small, and Avril Young. By the time the socialist bloc crumbled, I don't know how many of you were in that Congress when the late Desmond Hoyt said to us that either we change or we be made to change. Because if you don't change with the times, you can be dragged along. And if somebody drags you along the road, you know you can be bruised. And so when Gorbachev decided to get down the wall, loose the wall of Berlin, the Berlin Wall to come down, and he was getting rid of some of the socialist principles, we changed Perestroika. We changed the name to the National Congress of Women, thus dropping the socialists out of the WRSF. And so the movement changed from the Women's Revolutionary Socialist Movement to the National Congress of Women in 1994. One of the first, at that time, Ermia Johnson was the chairman, and I recall Ermia having, my eyes are not very clear this afternoon, but she's somewhere here. I think she's now serving as the principal political secretary, Jennifer Ferreira. I don't know how many of you know. No, she was Ferreira. She was already Ferreira when she served here as national secretary. Then Jenny left and went abroad, and she was followed by the Reverend Myrtlyn Dennis, who was, until recently, she's now retired, she was a minister in the Methodist Church. Myrtlyn took over. Ermia subsequently removed herself, and she migrated, and when she was leaving, I was her vice chairman, and so I acted up as chairman until we had the Congress. I think it was 1996, when I was elected chairman of the National Congress of Women. During my time, I had one secretary. I had a dependent secretary. We were out of government, in government, and by the time we changed to NCW, we were out of government. And you know, we're talking now about how many people have been dismissed between August and now, and how many people, all sorts of things happened. The same thing happened in 1996. I was a victim. I went to work one morning. I was told that my services are no longer needed. But as God would have it, I was on a secondment from a teacher, and so I was able to get back into my profession. So in 1996, Genevieve Allen joined me. It was rough. When I tell you rough, rough. I mean, we have a chairman now who has a little more, I think, I'm trying to find the right word, but she's really strong, and she could battle with them. I couldn't do it. I literally had to go on the ground. We were tormented for so long that we did our work, but we made certain that the National Congress of Women did not die. Jenny and I don't remember when she left, but I know I left in 2016. After serving for 20 years, I thought it was time to go because we had come back into government. And coming back into government, it was good time for a new breed of women to take over. Hence, we have our national chairman, Valda Ann Lawrence. The Women's Auxiliary, the WRSM, and the National Congress of Women. The women have always stood by our party. We have kept our party alive. And it's only for the last couple of years that the women have really taken to the forefront. We've decided that after so many years, we always electing the men, it is time for the women. And so the women have been coming forward. And as a result of what was going on in the world, one of the things that we were able to hold on to was the 33% that must be on any electoral list. And we had it written into the laws. The only thing that is not yet there is that we could say to the political parties, you must have that 33% coming into whether it's government or opposition. But some parties do it and some don't. 64 years ago, and still going strong. Learning from the past and conquering the future. We will conquer the future. We are the vanguard of the vanguard. We will continue to be the vanguard of the vanguard. And regardless of COVID or whatever it is we who have to be continually working with our party for the people of Guyana. I might have missed a few things, but in a nutshell, I think I have touched 64 years of our existence. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Sister Cheryl. And, you know, it is important that we know these things. And our national chairpersons have been documenting things because we need to let our younger people know as they come in. You know, I was talking with some young people the other day and they only heard about Burnham. You know, and that's bad because what they're hearing about Burnham is what they're desecrating his name. So we have a lot of work to do. And as we have all been saying, and it is known, it's the women who lead. We are the vanguard of vanguard. Could I at this stage ask you all to stand? We would never be able to live with ourselves if we do not pay tribute to that man that is responsible for this great party today, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. This afternoon, Sister Anne Green, an executive member, will lay a floral tribute at the bust of our founding leader. This party should never forget this great man. It was this man who made education free so that we could have been educated. It is this man who changed our thinking and made us realize that we can do whatever we can do. Put your hands together for Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham, the father of this nation and founding leader of the People's National Congress. Thank you, and please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, this organization, the National Congress of Women, we are always grateful for persons who give of their service to us and give of their service to communities. And this afternoon is no different. This afternoon, we would like to honor 4 such persons at this stage. I will ask our national chairperson to come forward. Could we have this chair removed from here, please? Thank you. And our first recipient will be Miss Makisha Kush. Resa, it's a putki. a mother of 8, founding the Giving Back East Rheinveld 7 years ago. It all began as a project out of the need to help young people to express themselves creatively and to assist with social school assignments. Over the years, it evolved into a multifaceted project where we held pageants, Sunday lunches, and other school lessons. It is all about giving back to the community. As a mother, I understand the importance of creating an enabling environment for our children to grow and learn. Put your hands together for Miss Melissa Cush. Could we all stand, ladies, and pay homage to this young woman? Then we have another recipient who is a teacher by profession, loves children as a passion for their educational development. When the executives of the Georgetown district of the PNCR decided to assist children who are out of school due to the COVID-19 pandemic, this young lady saw it as an opportunity to get involved. She has over the past year committed herself to the development of children from the communities of Working-Russ, Charlestown, and Alboystown by providing classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays at the Georgetown District Office. A meal is provided to each student. This young lady enjoys inviting leaders from varying fields to visit her classes and speak to the children. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Sister Monica Thomas. Then we have another person a young PNCR councillor of the main city council. A young man who is committed to the development of his constituency, Constituency 12, North Rheinveld, Tocqueville, Guyhawk Park, Lamahaw Springs Joint Services Scheme. Councillor Ford stands tall among his colleagues as a devoted community builder, When he's not cleaning drains or the trenches, sharing hampers, or just walking around and talking to his constituents, he is nurturing the young minds as he has established Tocqueville community classes, which provides a safe environment for learning in the COVID-19 pandemic. Put your hands together for Councillor Dexter Fort. You know, as moving around in politics, I meet so much of people and I admire a lot of people. And this young professional teacher, I met her and I was so much, she had the qualities that I had then in my youth. She could not resist the challenge to do something for her community, for many children who go to bed hungry due to the discrimination meted out to their parents by the present administration. On assumption to office, when hundreds were dismissed and they were members of our organization, this coupled with the COVID-19 and the high rising cost of living, this teacher called and opened a soup kitchen at the Agricola PNC office and has been filling many little stomachs for over 1 year, 4 months now. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for our dear sister, Sister Elizabeth Williams-Niles. Could we now put our hands together for these outstanding persons who have made a difference? And that is what our party is all about. Then we have a few presentations to make today. In our organization, we always give thanks and praise every day. And I want to call Sister Polly-Ann to come forward. and ask Sister Yonet Fortune to come. Now, these ladies would have celebrated birthdays not long ago, and we take the opportunity today to honor them. Okay. Sister Polly Ann Schultz is the chairperson of the Women's Arm in Region number 6, and Sister Yonet Fortune is the chairperson for the East Bank arm of the National Congress of Women. Powerful women meet. I then ask Sister Genevieve Allen, an executive member, to come forward. And we ask Cousin Jacqueline McLaren to come forward. Cousin Jackie will be celebrating her 70th birthday on Sunday coming. Cousin Jackie has been a pillar in the People's National Congress. She's presently the chairman of the Seafield Group and an executive member of the National Congress of Women in Region number 5. Cousin Jackie, we are honored. Today, the young lady who is helping out at the office is celebrating her birthday. She is important. She was born on this great day. Can I ask Sister Olivia to come forward? Huh? And Sister Olivia is also an executive member of the National Congress of Women. She dress up. Could I ask Sister Anne to come forward? Sister Anne Green to come forward, and Sister Denise Belgrave. Sister Denise Belgrave is the national chairperson for the NCW Region 10 and recently celebrated her birthday. Sister Anne, as you know, Cheryl spoke about her, Minister spoke about her. They have all been active members, and she's an executive member. Both ladies there are executive members of the National Congress of Women. And we will go to this young lady. Could we ask our cameraman to do something or take pictures? Because that young lady, Miss Cheryl Sampson, she also celebrated a birthday recently. And none other to present her to our national chairperson, Miss Walda Ann Lawrence. Sister Cheryl, we thank you for your service. And we continue to draw from your knowledge so that we can grow as women, the vanguard of the vanguard. Ladies, okay. Well, the recipients, the 4 teachers, the people from the community, if anybody would like to respond, please take the opportunity to do so now. Come, put your hands together for Councillor Dexter Ford.
Good afternoon. It's a pleasure for me to be here today on our 64th anniversary. More so, it's a pleasure to be here with the Women's Arm. I'm not going to say these things because I'm in a room full of women. I'm not trying to impress you, but what has impressed upon me is that in my inner workings, in the communities that I represent, working with families and community groups, organizations. It is the women who is standing up. It is the women who is stepping up, and they're cleaning drains with me. We're forming programs to help our senior citizens, celebrating them. We're forming programs to educate our young people and prepare them for the future. So today, I really want to, I'm happy to be here, and I want to say to you that we still have a lot of work to do. That without you, this country is not going to move forward. Right through history, we see that it's until the women decide to stand up, that's when we get change. And I will continue to work to empower the young girls, the young ladies, and the women in my community and whoever I come in contact with. I want to say to us that one of our main issues that we need to look at, you women need to look at, is what the chairman would have said. I think it's in 2019 at the last convention, that we need to start preparing our women to be employed, but more so, we need to start training them to be employers. I know Melissa here, and I know many of us who work trying to develop our young people, and our issue we have is economics. It's economics. We have a lot of ideas, we have great vision, but we lack the economics. And I believe that you women, when you go back to your communities, you need to, the Bible might have said that, be still and know that I am God. But he didn't mean to stay in your house and wait for him to come, be still. He still meant to believe in him, to go out there and start working, knowing that he will show you the way. You don't have to know the way, trust me. You just go out there and get your fellow women in your community, bring them out, put them in a group, and start talking to them. Listen, we need to come up with some ideas, the business ideas, for us to move our community forward. And you will be surprised to see how many ideas they have, and you can pull your resources together. There's so much you can do, but you need to start doing it. Because as I said before, until you women decide, until you decide that it's time for us to get to that next level, it's not going to happen. I know I'm tired of hearing they say, oh, we need a strong man to come by. I'm not saying to give up on the men. I'm saying that you're not to depend upon them. There's so much that you can do for yourself. And you're so caring and loving for your children and for the community that you're the ones to do it. So I'm imploring you that you continue to do the best that you could do for each other as women. Stand strong. Don't give up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Dexter Fort. Well, you know, all good things must come to an end. And in our organization, we always like to say thank you. So at this time, I call on our executive member, Sister Genevieve Allen, who will do the vote of thanks, and then we will all sing the party's battle song.
We are guided that in everything we ought to give thanks. And so it's a good thing to say thank you for joining us in this celebration of our 64th anniversary. I want you to put your hands together because you could have been somewhere else today. You have shown your dedication to this organization, which is an arm of the People's National Congress Reform. You have demonstrated that we have been champions in the past and that we are stepping boldly into 65, and we are conquering the future. I ask you to put your hands together. Madam Chair will say, this is not a fly-by-night party. This is not a fly-by-night organization. You rise up today, and after election, you're gone down. We are standing tall, we are standing strong, and we are celebrating our existence. And for some of our younger people, we should understand that even as our life member gave us the history today, that even as we celebrate our 64th anniversary, the leader, the founding leader of this party, that it was 66 years ago that you had the PNC, I should put it the right way, the Burnhamite PPP, which was led by the late Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham. And so therefore, we have a lot to celebrate. Our pillars of development are still standing strong today. Regardless of the propaganda that you hear, our pillars of development are still standing strong today. When you are going to the west side and you have to go over on the Demerara Harbor Bridge, it is a pillar of development of the People's National Congress. I ponder if some hearts don't burn when they drive there morning and afternoon. When you are traveling along the Linden-Soesdijk Highway, it is a pillar of development that is still standing, that is leading you into region number 10 and beyond. When you are crossing the Kanji Bridge, it is a pillar of development. And if we begin to speak education and training for our women, our children, and the vulnerable in our society, I will not complete the list this afternoon. The People's National Congress reform is a strong party. And as we step forward to the year 65, we are conquering the future. Let me say once again, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for Madam Chair who guided us through the program. Could you put your hands together for Madam Chair? I'd like to say thank you to our national chairman of the National Congress of Women. Thank you very much for your service. Thank you very much for guiding this organization over the period that you have taken over. Thank you very much. The members of the executive of the National Congress of Women, thank you very much for your service. I'm happy that we are graced with our members of parliament. Thank you very much for the service that you are providing to this nation. And I'd like our recipients to stand this afternoon. You have been recognized for your service to our communities. We say thank you. I trust that God will continue to give you wisdom and the strength, that the work that you have begun, that you will continue and you will expand, and it will bear fruits for the future. Thank you for molding the minds of Guyana's future. Thank you very much. And to all of those persons who are joining us online, thank you very much for sharing this auspicious occasion with us. Thank you. I will now invite us to stand. We will now stand and sing lustily our party's battle song. Out of ages of oppression, independent now we stand, newly born again, victorious, reigning masters of our land. On the peak of Mount Roraima, or beneath the rising sun, from the Marco Point of Player to eastern currents run, all were given liberty by the might of the PNC. Hold the line of battle, comrades, link our arms in unity. Organize and charge the forces of the haughty enemy. Truth shall be our martial weapon, brotherhood our armor plate. Guyanese the breed will cherish scorn in pots of racial hate. From field and office factory, rally to the PNC. Sons of many lands and daughters of the continents of earth, PNC lifts up the banner of your precious human worth. All who labor are our comrades, all who suffer kit and kin. Go to mountain, field, and factory, go, brother, bring them in. From field and office factory, rally to the PNC. Black and green with red and palm tree, freely flies our freedom flag. Rouse the lazy and the sluggard that won't let it droop and drag. Rally from the coast and borders, field and office factory. Brother, sister, friend, and comrade, rally to the PNC. From field and office factory, rally to the PNC. Sacred is our labor, brother, honorable reigns our toil. In the factory, in the office, winning riches from the soil. Honorable is our warfare, crush the monster poverty, unto economic freedom in great economy. From field and office factory, rally to the PNC. Dear land of Guyana, to you will we give our homage, our service, each day that we live. God guide you, great mother, and make us to be more worthy our heritage, land of the free.
Thank you very much, everybody. And we have some photo shoot.
The PNC is the face of the future. We are what then